The shy waitress greeted the Mafia boss's deaf mother, but what she said in sign language shocked everyone. Subscribe now, or this might be our last meeting. Follow, comment, and share to stay connected. Don't miss out. Let's dive in. The chandeliers at Tramonto, a landmark Italian restaurant on Mulberry Street, dripped warm light like honey over a sea of dark suits and discreet whispers. Maya Alvarez adjusted her apron, cheeks flushed from the kitchen heat. She'd trained herself to glide, to be invisible, to never invite questions. Tonight, that plan shattered in 10 signed words. At table 7 sat Luca Moretti, the quiet man whose last name made other men speak more quietly. Beside him, a silver-haired woman with bright eyes watched the room with a patient smile. The woman tapped her glass twice and looked up, hopeful. Maya noticed the motion first, the particular way a deaf person tried to be seen in a world that forgot to look. She stepped closer, hands steadying the tray at her hip. "Good evening," Maya signed in American Sign Language, her face warm, her body relaxed into the shape of language. "How may I help you?" The older woman's eyes filled with light. She signed swiftly, the motions graceful. "I was telling my son the tiramisu used to be brighter. It tasted like holidays. Could you tell the chef he almost got my memory right?" Maya smiled. "I'll tell him. And I'll ask about the coffee brand. Sometimes it changes the cream." Luca's fork paused mid-air. His gaze, habitual steel, softened in a startled way that looked dangerous on him. Not because he was a threat, but because curiosity from a man like him became a mission. "You sign," he said, voice low enough to conceal how intrigued he was. "She signs very well." His mother, Elena, signed with pride, then spoke aloud in careful syllables. "You never learned, Luca. Now you will." Heat climbed Maya's neck. "It's just something I picked up." "People don't pick up kindness," Luca replied. He didn't smile. He noticed. "What's your name?" "Maya." She bent, placing water at just the right distance from Elena's hand. "And this is a new roast, I'll confirm." Elena tapped her wrist, the universal sign for time. "Ask the chef before he forgets." She signed. Then, to Maya alone, "Thank you for not shouting at me like I'm far away." A laugh caught in Maya's throat. "You're not far away. People just don't know how to cross the room." When Maya turned, Luca's attention followed, the way a hawk tracks motion without moving its wings. She felt the weight of it, of being seen, and hated that part of her straightened to meet it. He was exactly the type of man she avoided, decisive, feared, with the means to pull any thread until a life unraveled. She delivered Elena's note to the chef, returned with espresso, and translated back and forth. Elena's travel story about Palermo and the seaside, Luca's dry humor about his mother conscripting waitstaff into dessert reform movements. Maya kept her answers small. "Yes, no. I'll ask. But soft things sneak out when you relax." Elena signed. "Where did you learn?" "My father lost hearing after an accident. I learned because I was late." The confession came without permission. She had learned to be on time for pain. When Elena lifted her espresso, Luca asked, "What's your last name, Maya?" "Alvarez," she said, keeping her eyes on Elena. "Elena likes you," Luca said, as if naming the weather. "That doesn't happen often." "I like people who look at me," Elena signed pointedly. She looked. Maya nodded, stepping back before temptation to linger, to answer more, betrayed her. She wanted out of this light. At the end of the meal, Luca left cash like it grew in his palm and a single business card, Moretti Imports. Not a phone number, just a line written in a deliberate hand. For the coffee question, or anything else. He slid it toward Maya, not touching her fingers. "I won't need anything else," she said. "Everyone needs something," he replied. Maya waited for the table to leave before letting her breath out. She tucked the card into her apron to toss later, told herself she would forget his eyes, told herself she would never sign in public again. She told herself many things she didn't believe. Near closing, a man in a leather jacket hung at the bar, eyes on her reflection in the mirror. He wasn't drinking. He was remembering her face. Maya's stomach turned cold. She knew the look. Recognition without warmth. She finished her shift and stepped into the alley where the city exhaled steam. Footsteps followed at a distance that said, "Don't run. We like it better when you do." A black Maserati rolled to a satin stop at the curb. The passenger door swung open. Luca's voice traveled like velvet over a blade. "Maya, get in." Her heartbeat did what it always did when the past smelled her name. Sped, then shrank. She should keep walking. She should never climb into a wolf's car. Behind her, leather jacket quickened. Maya slid into the seat. The door closed like a vow. "What a coincidence," Luca murmured, eyes on the mirror. "I was just thinking how I hate coincidences." "Then you're going to hate my life," Maya said. "Your life is safe for the next 10 minutes, he said, easing into the street. "Tell me who he is." "I don't say names," she replied, hands tightening on her bag. "Fine," Luca said, turning left without signaling. "Then tell me how many there are." She swallowed. "Tonight? 1. She paused. "But they don't like to be alone." "And you," Luca said, gaze moving from road to her face, as if calculating what had to be protected to preserve something he suddenly valued. "You really thought I'd let you walk out alone after the way my mother looked at you?" Maya faced him. "No," she admitted. "I thought you'd let me because it would hurt less later." The corner of his mouth tilted, the closest he came to a smile in public. "Later?" Maya looked back at the alley fading behind them. "Later always comes." The Maserati slipped under the Manhattan Bridge lights as another car eased out 2 blocks behind. Luca didn't look. He knew. Maya folded Elena's espresso note in her palm and wondered why the smallest language always found her, right before the shot began. The crack ricocheted off brick. Luca didn't flinch. The speed changed, but the line didn't. He guided the Maserati into darkness and out again, letting the city's rhythm conceal his evasions. Behind them, a sedan nosed wider, unsignaled, predatory. "Keep your head down," he said, not raising his voice. "Glove box." Maya fumbled. No gun, just a black rectangle the size of a paperback. She opened it to rows of metal tiles, plates. He handed her one with a practiced flick. "Put that over the dash camera, left corner." "Illegal?" she asked. "Everything worth doing is inconvenient," he said. They cut across Chinatown, then up into streets where families ate late and nobody called the cops for noise. The sedan stayed 3 cars back. Luca's phone buzzed once. He didn't glance down. "Your friend at the bar?" he asked. "Not my friend." "An old debt?" he offered. "A rumor," she said. Luca's eyes tracked a slice of window. "Rumors don't wait in alleys." She almost said it. "He used to be my fiancé's runner." She caught the words with her teeth. New city, new rules, less speaking. "Pull into light," Maya said suddenly. "Please." Luca arched a brow. She signed it too, to Elena through the air. Light. He changed lanes without comment, sliding under a flood of deli neon. In reflection, the sedan hesitated. Hunters prefer shadows. "You sign when you're afraid," Luca noted. "I sign when I need courage," she corrected softly, "because I learned to speak again with my hands before I could with my mouth." He didn't push. That surprised her more than the gunshot. Men like him always press the bruise. He drove 2 more blocks, then pulled into a private garage whose door rolled up on sight of the car. He parked where concrete swallows sound. "Why here?" she asked. "Because my mother will kill me if I bring strangers to the house," he said. "And because you are not a stranger." Maya opened her mouth to argue and instead heard herself say, "Elena wants you to learn 3 signs by tomorrow." "What for?" "To prove you were listening." He inclined his head. "Teach me." She taught him thank you, sorry, brave. He fumbled the shapes, not used to asking his face to work with his hands. The sight, danger uncoordinated, made her laugh once, quickly. He glanced sideways, pleased like men get when they make rare children laugh. The elevator up smelled faintly of cedar. On the 10th floor, A door opened to a room that gave nothing away. Dark wood, simple lines, a piano nobody touched. Maya stood, caught between awe and suspicion. Rich men made soft rooms to disguise hard choices. "You can sleep here," he said. "There's security, but more importantly, there's discretion." Maya shook her head. "I have a place. You have a situation," he said, "and you have me until I understand it." She began to refuse again. Then the picture blinked behind her eyes. An old apartment buzzer, a folded note. "You should have kept quiet in block letters." She stayed. When she re-emerged from a quick shower, Luca was at the kitchen island. Sleeves rolled, wrist bones clean like he'd never lifted anything heavier than a bottle of Barolo. But the scar at the base of his thumb said otherwise. "Coffee?" he asked. She took the cup and risked a look. "You don't ask many questions for a man who hates coincidence." "I'm saving them," he said. "For when?" "When you trust me enough to answer." Trust. The old word. The one that used to mean permission to hurt me. She sipped. "Your mother's espresso was very close. The chef needs a different roast from Naples. I'll text the brand if—" She stopped. "I don't have your number." He slid a card across the counter. A number this time. She took it, then, unthinking, tucked it behind her phone case, and saw the wallpaper beneath. A photograph she couldn't bring herself to change. A dock in Miami. Two silhouettes. One man with a soft smile and a hand too light on her shoulder. Luca saw nothing and everything. "Who is he?" "A rumor," she said. "Rumors don't kiss you on docks," he replied. She set down the cup, heart slamming. "He's the reason I don't say names. He's the reason a runner remembers my face and waits at bars." Luca leaned back, hands flat. "And what did you take from him?" "Myself," she said. "Eventually." His mouth tipped again, not amusement, respect. "Then he'll come ask for a refund." "He already tried," Maya whispered. "He called it an engagement." Silence opened like a door between them. Luca didn't fill it with promises. He nodded once, the way men nod at tombs. "I'll have a man sit outside the restaurant tomorrow. You won't see him. They will." "I can't afford your men," she said. "You can afford to wake up," he said simply. "Payment enough." She looked at the piano, at the city glowing through glass, at the man who had turned away a shot by driving into light. People like him built their power on debts, yes, but some currencies you couldn't counterfeit. He did not look away from danger. He did not look away from her. "Teach me one more sign," he said, voice lowered, as if the room were a church. She taught him home. He practiced twice, then once more even slower, until his hands carried it clean. "Good," she said softly. He met her eyes. "It will be," he said. "Unless I'm wrong." Maya hadn't planned to sleep. Her body decided for her. When she woke near dawn, a folded note leaned against a glass of water on the nightstand. "Leave when you like. Pantry has food. Security knows your name." L. Under it, written carefully, "Thank you" in blocky ASL drawing. She smiled in spite of herself. Her phone buzzed. A blocked number. She didn't answer. It buzzed again with a text that froze the bones in her hands. "Tell your new friend to stop following my cars, or I'll tell him what you really did. A." Her stomach flipped as if the elevator cable had been cut. The next buzz wasn't a text. It was a photo. Her father's old repair shop in Queens, security gate half down, boot prints in dust, a single lily shoved under the grate, a flower he used to bring home on Fridays. The caption read, "Rumors bloom. See you soon." By noon, the alley behind Tramonto smelled like garlic and rain. Maya's hands shook on the espresso machine. She hid trembling with precision. Tamp, release, wipe, mirror smooth crema. Routine could be armor if you wore it hard enough. At 2, Elena arrived alone, escorted by a driver who pretended not to notice when she signed hello to the dishwashers. She took the corner table under the Dega print, a spot where the light made everyone kinder. Maya approached, a souffle of courage barely risen. "Good afternoon, Signora Moretti." Elena's face brightened. "Elena," she signed. Today I am only Elena. You? Maya, she signed back, trying not to cry. Home was a shape the hands could make when the mouth couldn't. Elena gestured toward the seat. Sit. We talk like old friends who have not met yet. Her humor lived in the arch of her brows. I can't sit on shift. Elena waved her off, the Moretti equivalent of a papal dispensation. Maya sat. My son does not bring people to the apartment. Elena signed, eyes twinkling. He brought you. I approved. Then I told him to learn, please. He likes being boss too much. Maya laughed, airless and grateful. He learned thank you and sorry first. She signed. He said those are the most expensive words. Elena's smile softened. He pretends gravity. Inside, there is a soft boy who thinks if he doesn't hold the ceiling, it will fall. His father taught him to be column, not window. Maya filed the image in her chest. A column, not a window. It explained everything and nothing. She had to say it before she lost the nerve. A man from my past is watching me. She signed slowly. I don't want your family touched by that. Elena's hands paused. She reached across, squeezed Maya's fingers. You looked at me. Now I look at you. Then, tell Luca before the other man writes the story. I can't, Maya signed, because of what I did. Elena's gaze was gentle steel. And what did you do? Maya swallowed. I told the truth to the wrong person. I found numbers that didn't belong to the people who pretended to own them. Her mouth felt dry and full of old ash. I worked at a bank in Miami. My fiancé, Adrian, moved money with the Russo crew. I traced it. I thought I was doing the right thing. Elena's eyes sharpened at Russo. The sign lifted like a knife up a sleeve. And he? Framed me for theft, Maya said. Made sure my father's shop got a visit. Made sure every door turned into a mouth that said no. Elena didn't ask why she hadn't gone to the police. Some women don't ask because they already know. Then you come north, Elena signed, and you learn to be window again. Column, Maya corrected, smiling weakly. Elena tapped her temple. Column and window both. My son thinks you are window. He likes the light. She leaned in. Tell him about Miami, before Miami arrives. As if summoned, Luca walked in, not with his crew, but with wind, like weather you can't blame for being itself. He greeted his mother, kissed her cheek, then turned toward Maya as if his body recognized the sound she made standing still. Good afternoon, he said. Do I pass the test? Maya blinked. Which test? He signed, halting but careful. Sorry. Thank you. Brave. The shapes were rough. The facework was right. She bit back a smile. Elena clapped like a queen pleased by a peasant's juggle. Sit, Elena said aloud, tapping the chair with a ring that had been in their family longer than anyone living. Eat, then fix the coffee. They ate. Elena asking Maya for a silly story about customers, Maya inventing one that made Elena cackle, Luca watching like a man memorizing a language by ear. He waited until Elena excused herself to the ladies' room, then spoke without preamble. A photo was sent to your phone, he said. Your father's shop. Maya froze. How did you? I asked your name last night. I learned the rest this morning. He didn't say how. He didn't need to. Tell me about Adrian. She looked down at her hands, folded in her lap as if they'd been caught stealing. The words scraped coming out. We met in a compliance seminar. A humorless laugh. That's the joke. He was the guest speaker. I thought he believed in rules. Luca's eyes didn't change. He believes in leverage. He believes in making people small, she said. He used to put his palm on the top of my head when we argued, like training a dog. Shame flared and cooled. She hated telling him. She hated wanting him to know. What did you find? Luca asked, voice quiet. 4 accounts, shells stacked in shells, cash from Miami clubs, construction invoices that never built anything. I followed the names far enough to see Russo. Luca's jaw ticked once. You told Adrian. I told the man who told me to report anomalies to him first, she said flatly. I didn't understand how many doors he was. And then he framed you, Luca said, finishing the obvious step. He trashed your father's shop to teach you what silence costs. Maya nodded, throat tight. I ran. She let the truth sit between them like another chair. I should have gone to the authorities. I didn't. I told myself I was protecting my dad. Really, I was protecting what was left of me. Luca didn't recoil. He never would. He had known too many women who learned the cost of speaking in scars. You'll tell the rest later, he said. Now eat. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway, he said. You fight better on something besides coffee. She lifted her fork as Elena returned, eyes bright with mischief. I told Maria in the kitchen that my son is learning to say sorry, she announced. She fainted. Luca stood, kissed her knuckles, and for a second the city shrank to something soft. Maya wanted to keep it that size, just for one afternoon. Elena patted Maya's arm. Bring the coffee bag you like, she signed. Show him how to taste it. I don't teach men like your son, Maya signed back without thinking, grinning now. They don't like being wrong. Elena arched her brow toward Luca. He likes being wrong for you. Before Maya could respond, the front door chimed a bright, ordinary sound that made the air change. 3 men entered in clean suits, wearing the posture of law. The host froze, glancing at Luca. The tallest one flashed a badge. FBI. Luca Moretti? The agent asked, voice carrying. The room went whisper quiet. Elena's back straightened until she could have balanced a book on her head. Luca didn't turn. Afternoon, he said, bored as weather. You're interrupting dessert. We have a few questions. Then you have a reservation? Luca replied, deadpan. Because my mother hates waiting. The agent's mouth tightened. This is regarding suspected money laundering with entities linked to Russo Construction and... He checked his paper. A former compliance officer from a Miami bank. One Maya Alvarez. Every muscle in Maya's body turned to wire. Elena's hand found hers under the table and squeezed a single message. Breathe. Luca's gaze slid to Maya, unreadable as polished onyx. Strange, he said to the agents mildly. I was just about to ask you the same questions. The lead agent's eyes skimmed the room and landed on Maya like a pin through silk. Miss Alvarez, he said, raising his voice, we need you to come with us. And because the city had a sense of humor, the door chimed again, admitting a man in a leather jacket who did not wear a badge, only a smile that knew where Maya kept her ghosts. The room held its breath the way rooms do when history walks in twice. The lead agent lifted his chin. Miss Alvarez, leather jacket, Adrian's runner from the bar, leaned a shoulder to the wall and pretended to admire the wine rack. Luca stood with unhurried grace, placing himself exactly between Maya and both dangers. You'll have to be specific, he told the agent. There are 3 Miss Alvarez's on payroll. The agent's gaze sharpened. This one, he said and pointed. Rude, Elena said clearly, in her bright, precise voice. Half the room startled. People always forgot deaf women could aim a sentence. She signed to Maya with the sharpness of knuckles. Stay. Then to Luca. Fix. Maya rose anyway. It's okay, she began. It isn't, Luca said without looking back. Sit. The agent's badge flashed again. Mr. Moretti, we can make a scene or you can let Miss Alvarez step outside for a few questions. You don't have a warrant, Luca said. You have bravado and poor timing. Are you refusing to cooperate? I'm refusing theater, Luca replied. Order coffee. Do your job faster. Leather jacket chuckled softly. Man's got jokes, he muttered, not hiding his voice enough. The agent flicked him a glance, measuring the wrong man. Maya knew a stupid escalation when she saw one. She moved around Luca's shoulder and lifted her hands so Elena could read her face. I'll go, she signed and said aloud, for the agent's benefit. If I have counsel. That can be arranged, the agent said, already stepping aside as if victory were a door he had opened himself. Good, Luca said, dialing. Because my counsel is very bored and loves brunch. Outside on the sidewalk, September light made even the squad cars look like props. The agent guided Maya to the curb as Luca followed with a stillness more dangerous than any shout. Two other agents positioned themselves like bookends. Miss Alvarez, the lead began, flipping pages. You were engaged to one Adrian Cole, formerly of Baystone National in Miami. The name cracked like old paint inside her chest. I was. You left Florida approximately 12 months ago after allegations of internal theft that, curiously, were later dropped. Why? Because they were false, she said. And because power hates paper trails unless it owns them. The agent's mouth twitched. You're very quotable. I'm very tired, she said. Do you know Russo Construction? I know what newspapers call them. Do you know Russo as in the family that does not build anything but hides money and scaffolding? Luca's eyebrow tilted. The agent pretended not to see him hear what he had not said. The lead shuffled pages. We have evidence that Adrian Cole used you to move funds, that he fed your credentials to a third party, that when you tried to report it, he... The agent paused, as if the next word tasted wrong. Nullified your career. Maya swallowed. The FBI read my story and skipped to the ending. Why am I here? Because your name is on 3 internal memos sent to Cole's private account, the agent said. We want an explanation that beats love is blind. She had it, the explanation. Evidence buried under fear. But the street had too many ears, and Leather Jacket's mouth had the memory of a recorder. I won't speak without counsel, she repeated. The agent nodded once, as if he'd expected that. Mr. Moretti, he said, turning, we'll need access to your shipping ledgers. Luca made a sound that might have been a laugh in another language. You can have whatever the court orders, he said. But since your timing is so excellent, perhaps you'd like to ask Adrian Cole why he sent a man to follow my friend home. The agent blinked. Your friend? Words evolve, Luca said. The agent turned just in time to see Leather Jacket smirk. Recognition flashed. Mr. Cole can answer questions down at the field office, he said evenly. We're done here for now. They weren't, of course. Nothing was ever done when men left without winning. The agents withdrew with a promise of paperwork. Leather Jacket peeled off the wall and followed them with his eyes, then flicked a cigarette into the gutter without lighting it. Tell Adrian dinner's off, Luca said to him mildly. I'm only the RSVP, the runner replied, hands wide. But since you're being sociable, he wants his ring back. Maya's stomach turned to stone. That ring is at the bottom of Biscayne Bay. Then he wants you to bring him the ocean, Leather Jacket said and smiled. Tonight, 9, Pier 17. Tell him to meet me instead, Luca said. Oh, he will, the runner replied. He insists. Bring Window Girl if you like. The runner left with the insolence of a man who hadn't been stopped yet. Luca watched him disappear into traffic and then finally looked at Maya. Pier 17, he said. Bad choice for a swim. I'm not going, Maya said. You're not, he agreed. We are. She shook her head hard. No, he wants me in the open. He wants to yank me like a chain. And I want to cut the chain, Luca said simply, so he can't yank anyone again. Elena stepped outside and slid her hand into Maya's, small and unyielding. I will make coffee, she signed. Then we plan. Nonna? Luca murmured. Please. Don't please me, she said aloud, sparking. You will break heads, yes? Good. First we eat. It was ridiculous and perfect. They ate. They planned. Luca called a lawyer with the voice of a man who woke people up and owed no apologies for the hour. The lawyer promised to be at Pier 17 with papers that meant, if you touch my client, you'll touch a judge. It sounded like a bedtime story told to wolves. At 8:30, the sky over the East River bruised purple. The pier glittered with date nights and teenagers pretending not to be scared of the dark. Luca stood with 2 of his men, Santo and Rafe, who looked like expensive mistakes you couldn't return. You stay behind me, Luca told Maya. I'm tired of behind, she said. That's where people pretend you aren't there. You're there, he said without argument. That's the point. A figure detached from the shadow of a ferry sign. Not Adrian. The runner again. Smile turned up like a hook. Sorry for the bait and switch, he said. Boss had a meeting. Sent me with a message. No substitutions, Luca said. He'll make an exception for you, the runner said. Especially now that he knows you keep interesting company. Santo shifted his weight. Rafe scanned the periphery. Maya stood her ground, hands in her coat pockets to stop them from shaking. The runner's smile deepened. Tell the girl her father says hello. My father is dead, Maya said, ice cutting through fear. Death is chatty in Queens, the runner replied. New flowers at the shop. Maybe you should visit. Luca moved faster than air. The runner went to his knees with a sigh no one else heard. Luca's hand in his collar, Santo's knee in his back. Rafe relieved him of a small knife and a smaller gun. Last chance, Luca said, not raising his voice. Where is Cole? Closer than you think, the runner wheezed, but not close enough to get wet. From the river came the low growl of an engine. A black speedboat cut a crescent through reflection and idled just beyond the lights. A man stood at the bow, coat unbuttoned to show a white shirt and a smile she had believed once. Adrian. He lifted a megaphone like a toast. Bambina, he called, easy as a summer threat. You always did like a view. Maya tasted metal. Luca's hand brushed her sleeve, a contact so careful it felt like prayer. Adrian's next sentence wasn't aimed at Luca or the men holding the runner. It was aimed at Maya's chest. Tell your new boyfriend, he called, laughter carrying over water, that the feds eat out of my hand, just like you did. The word boyfriend worked like he'd planned. A cheap match struck near a fuse. Rafe tensed. Santo swore. Luca didn't blink. He lifted his chin, a king obliging a peasant. You wanted to see me, he called back. I wanted her, Adrian said, voice echoing. You're a bonus. Maya stepped forward. What do you want, Adrian? He spread his hands, benevolent. Closure, don't you? People who want closure don't send lilies to graves, she said. He smiled wider. People who want apologies don't hide behind mobsters. Careful, Luca murmured. Adrian tilted the megaphone, bored. Relax, Luca. We're on the same side. Russo sends his warmest regards. Says thanks for keeping the docks tidy. Rafe's knuckles lifted. Luca's men didn't like hearing thanks from ghosts. Maya took a breath she didn't have. You framed me. Harsh, Adrian said. I repositioned assets. You stole my life. You gave it to me, he said. You said yes, remember? Luca's voice slid in, silken. She rescinds. Adrian laughed, genuine delight at the theater. You'll make a great usher at her next wedding. He tapped his watch. Time. I have a call with 2 agents who think I'm the solution to their Russo problem. Fun how that works. Ask them about the 3 memos, Maya called, the words jumping from the cliff of her fear. Ask them why your private inbox has drafts you never sent. Ones I wrote that you forwarded to yourself after you deleted my access. The smile dulled a degree. You were always clever, he said. Clever women are exhausting. Clever men are sloppy, she replied. You hid the shells inside shells, but you signed the wrong wire by hand at 2:14 a.m., under a camera at a 24-hour florist. The timestamp doesn't lie. Your alibi does. Adrian's face went smooth. He didn't like being seen by his own mirror. Tell Luca your father's favorite mechanic has a new address, he said instead. Call it an invitation. You don't get to talk about my father, Maya said, voice shaking. Everything you touched is mine to reference, he said. That's how ownership works. Ownership. The old claim. The first lie. Luca stepped a half step forward, the night folding around him. Enough, he said. You wanted my attention. You have it. Next time, bring a ring that fits the finger you're trying to bite. Adrian's laugh came like glass in a bag. Cute. Keep her then. She's good at paperwork. You'll need that when the feds come. They always come. He lifted a hand. The boat peeled away, cutting neon into shards. Luca released the runner like garbage at the curb. "Tell your boss his papers are overdue," he said softly. The man limped off, eyes full of future mistakes. Rafe exhaled. "What's the play?" "Two fronts," Luca said. "Legal, street. Elena gets neither." Maya stared at the dark where the boat had been. The tremor took her after the danger left, as always. She heard her own breath and hated how loud fear makes you to yourself. Luca turned to her. "You were brilliant," he said, "and reckless. On balance, I approve." She let out a shaky laugh. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said after I yelled at a man with a megaphone." "Eat," he said. "I can't keep eating every time I confront a memory," she said. "You can," he replied, "until your body believes you again." They drove. He didn't ask if she wanted to go to his place or hers. He took her where she was safest. Elena's brownstone in Carroll Gardens. Quiet street, geraniums like stubborn hearts on the sill. Elena opened the door before they rang. Mothers hear tires they love. Elena looked at Luca first, reading the lines that hadn't been there this morning. Then at Maya, reading the quiver that wouldn't leave her hands. Elena cupped Maya's cheek, thumb warm and sure. "I have soup," she signed, "and a bat." Luca kissed his mother's forehead. "We'll take both." They sat at the kitchen table like people in a painting of family. Luca briefed, concise like war reports. Elena listened, filling bowls with minestrone. When he finished, Elena signed, "We make a list." "Of what?" Maya asked, already soothed by ritual. "Of what we can control," Elena signed. "Men think control is walls. Women know control is doors." They listed attorneys' ledgers, camera footage at a florist, the fact that Luca owned the adjacent building to the pier, and therefore the camera pointed at the river, he hadn't mentioned that part, and Elena's church ladies, who knew every patrol route from here to Bay Ridge. "We go to the FBI," Luca said finally, "on our terms, with evidence." "They already tried to make me theirs," Maya said. "Let them try again," he said, "but make them hungry first." Elena snapped her fingers to get both of their eyes. "No secrets in this house," she signed. "Secrets rot the floor." Maya nodded. "Then I have to tell you something I should have told you yesterday." The words scraped. "I kept copies of everything, in case the truth needed a lawyer." Luca didn't look surprised. He looked proud. "Good," he said. "We'll use them." She reached into her bag and placed a small, battered drive on the table. The room seemed to lean, the way rooms do when a new weight arrives. Elena whispered, "Brava," then louder in case a deaf son forgot what bravery sounds like. "Brava." Luca took the drive like a sacrament. "Tomorrow morning," he said. "My lawyer, my office. You tell the story once. He will do the rest." "And tonight?" Maya asked, exhaustion dragging at her bones like wet cloth. "Tonight you sleep," he said. "I can't." "You will," he said. "I'll sit in the chair." "I don't need—" "You'll sleep if you hear someone you trust breathing," he said simply. Trust. The word returned like a stray dog that insists it lives here. She didn't argue this time. She slept on Elena's sofa, blanket smelling faintly of lavender and lemon oil, while Luca sat in the chair, long frame folded awkwardly, every muscle at parade rest. He didn't move when the old brownstone creaked. He didn't look at his phone. He watched her breathe and quietly matched her rhythm. At 3 a.m., a soft thud sounded at the back door, a letter pushed under, the coward's knock. Luca rose like tide, silent and absolute. He lifted the folded paper with gloved fingers. No return address. One sentence, printed in block letters. "She belongs to who feeds her." Elena appeared in the doorway, hair braided down her back like a woman who fights tidy. Luca handed her the note. She read, then looked at the door as if it were a disobedient child. "Then we feed her better," Elena said, and turned on the porch light as if illumination were a weapon. At 7:12 a.m., Luca's attorney called with a voice that belonged to a very awake buzzsaw. "Bring your friend," he said, "and bring that drive. The bureau just served me a subpoena. with Adrian Cole's signature on the informant paperwork. By 8:02 a.m., the elevator opened into glass and steel, the kind of office that made people lower their voices and check their posture. Luca walked first, Maya beside him. Elena refused to stay home, and now sat primly in a leather chair in the reception, a knitting bag at her feet like a decoy. A brass plaque on the wall read, "Vance and Keller, Counselors at Law." Charles Vance came out with the expression of a man who drank jet fuel and called it espresso. Mid-40s, suit like a decision, a jaw made for telling judges no. He clocked Luca, nodded at Elena, and turned to Maya with a gentleness that didn't fit his edges. "You must be Ms. Alvarez." His handshake was brief, warm. "We're going to build a bridge and set a fire under it. May I see the drive?" Maya handed over the battered stick. "It has copies, draft memos, raw transaction logs, metadata screenshots, and 2 short clips from the bank's lobby cams the night the theft occurred." "Alleged theft," Vance corrected, already striding toward a conference room. "Words are clay. We pick the mold." Inside, screens bloomed to life as his paralegal worked. Vance didn't waste seconds. "The Bureau shoved a subpoena under my door at sunrise," he said. "The cover sheet flags you, Luca. The attached affidavit leans on Russo Construction, a shell in Newark, and an informant identified only as CIA. Maya's stomach nodded. "Adrian." Vance smiled without humor. "Cole got himself a halo with a crooked nail. He's feeding them, and he wants to plate you with the same fork. Good news is he can't eat and talk at the same time. We will fill their mouths." He clicked to the first file. On screen, a draft email Maya had written to the bank's internal hotline, never sent. The metadata pane sat to the side like a small truth with sharp teeth. Drafted 02:13 a.m. Device, MAMB01, last accessed 02:16 a.m. Device, ACMB03. "Cole opened your draft from his laptop minutes after you saved it," Vance narrated. "Then he forwarded a modified version from your credentials to his private account at 3:02. Classic piggyback, rookie arrogance." Maya forced her hands flat to the table. "He assumed I wouldn't know how to pull device IDs. People who count money underestimate people who make it honest," Vance said, switching to the florist clip. "And this chef's kiss." The image froze on Adrian's shoulder under the florist's midnight camera, pen in hand, scrawl on a courier sheet. The timestamp glowed bright as a firefighter's helmet. "He signs for a package linked to one of the shells on a night he swore he was in Miami Beach giving a talk on ethics." Luca's mouth curled at that. "Ethics. We'll also run a data tie between the shells and Russo-adjacent LLCs that happen to rent space on your docks," Vance went on. "Before you frown, yes, I know your ledgers are clean on paper. I also know somebody is smearing fingerprints on them to make them look like yours." "Somebody inside," Luca said, the words flat as a drawn blade. Vance didn't contradict him. He raised a palm toward the paralegal. She slid a printout across the table. Port sublease schedule, Pier 14. Highlighted lines jumped like sirens. Tiny overpayments to a vendor with a forgettable name. Northside pallets, recurring quarterly, signed off by R. Sa. The rest of the surname, cut by the hole punch. Maya leaned in. "R. Sa. Rafe Santos?" Luca's eyes did not move. "There's more than one R." Vance drummed once on the table, a gavel's echo. "There's also a camera. City cam across from your warehouse. We subpoenaed the feed last month in another matter. Lucky us, it points at your door Tuesdays. Lucky us, Tuesdays are pallet days." He nodded to the paralegal. The screen switched to night footage. A box truck reversing to the loading bay. A man in a knit cap jumping down. The angle was bad. Faces blurred into winter. "Enhance what you can," Vance said. "But I don't need faces. I need patterns." He turned to Maya. "Here's our road. We asked the U.S. attorney for a proffer session, queen for a day. You tell your story in my office with the government listening. Your ask, non-prosecution on the bank nonsense, witness protections on your father's shop memories, and a lane to testify about Cole and Russo without painting Luca as the artist." Maya swallowed. "They'll try to make me a tool. Then we be the hand," Vance said. We give them more truth than their informant gave them and make their case better if they leave Luca out of it. Prosecutors don't marry facts. They marry wins. Elena tapped the table to catch attention. She signed with quick economy. Safe. Then, when, where, who. Vance watched her hands like he'd been raised to observe carefully before speaking. Tomorrow, noon, he said aloud and slowly, looking to Elena and then to Maya. Here, government in this room. We control the coffee and the copies. We let them feel clever while we pick their pockets for promises. Luca sat back unreadable. We push too hard. Cole panics. Panic makes him dangerous. Cole is already dangerous, Vance replied. Panic only makes him visible, which we need. The paralegal pointed at the screen again. Sir, new alert. A small window popped up. Anomalous print job. Moretti Imports, HQ, 8:26 a.m., and a thumbnail of an accounting ledger spilled in miniature. Vance's brows lifted. We installed detection on your network last year, he told Luca as if the detail were weather. Someone just printed Pier 14 subleases from inside your building and emailed them to a free webmail address. Maya felt the temperature tilt. Who's in your office this early? Half the company, Luca said dryly. I pay well and provide espresso. The paralegal clicked deeper. Printer, 4th floor, ops, user, are Santos. The air thinned. Luca didn't move for a count of 3, and in those 3 seconds Maya understood what power really meant. Not volume, not violence, but the ability to keep your face a still pool when the rock drops. Rafe signs everything, he said at last, polite as a knife. Including things he doesn't read. Then either your lieutenant is sloppy, Vance said, or he's making 2 kinds of copies. Maya's pulse jumped. Rafe was on the pier last night. He's loyal. People are loyal until they're offered a different kind of fear, Vance said. Loyalty and terror spend the same. Elena's knitting needles clicked once, the sound of a verdict. She signed to Luca without blinking. Ask, look, not shout. Then to Maya, breathe. Luca stood. We go now, he said, voice low. I ask, I look, I do not shout. Vance slid a folder across the table. One more thing. If Cole's assigned CI, he'll have handlers. They'll think he's their dog. He thinks you're his leash. Let him pull. We have the post. Meaning? Maya asked. Meaning you dress the wound and let him sniff it, Vance said, grim amusement in it. Text him. Offer a professional meet. Not lover. Not victim. Consultant. Tell him you're willing to sit down with the Bureau to correct the record, and you thought he should know first. That will make him drive faster, Luca said. Good, Vance replied. Men who drive fast forget to check their mirrors. They left the office with a plan that felt like holding fire by the cool end. Outside, the city had shaken off its morning fog and put on its midday hustle. On the curb, Elena squeezed Maya's hand. Window and column, she signed. Today we are both. At Moretti Imports, the lobby smelled like citrus cleaner and salt. Employees lifted their eyes, then lowered them with affection rather than fear. Luca's empire ran on competence as much as reputation. Upstairs, the operations floor opened into a half-wall bullpen. Rafe stood by a printer, body hunched, tie loosened. At the sight of Luca, he straightened, easy grin switching on like a light. Boss, he said, we got the Long Island offload scheduled an hour early. Do we? Luca said. And do we have a reason you're printing my subleases to a personal account? Rafe blinked, blank, then offended. What? No. I was emailing the county permit office from my phone. Printer must be. He checked the panel, bit his lip, pushed buttons as if a machine could be cajoled into innocence. See? It keeps caching. Stop, Luca said, not loud. Look at me. Rafe looked. He was a good liar in the way dogs are good at pretending they didn't steal chicken. His eyes kept skittering left like a bird watching a shadow. Who gave you Northside pallets? Luca asked. Vendor on the county list, Rafe said. Who vouched? Rafe's pause was a breath and a lifetime. Paolo. The name dropped into the room like a wrench. Paolo, the bookkeeper who'd taught Luca to balance his first doc ledger at 16. The man who brought Elena fresh figs in summer and filed taxes so clean they squeaked. Maya felt the thread snap and go taut in another direction. "Does Paolo have access to the ops floor printer?" she asked. "Paolo has access to heaven and earth," Luca said softly. "Because I gave it to him." Rafe swallowed. "Boss, Luca lifted a palm. "Fix your tie," he said, and walked away. Maya hurried to match his stride. "Rafe might be stupid," she said under her breath. "Paolo is not." "Paolo is family," Luca answered, which is a sentence that contains both facts and mistakes. They reached the end of the hall where a glass-walled conference room looked over the harbor. The skyline cut the horizon like a promise you could almost afford. Luca tapped the glass. "Every Tuesday, Paolo meets the auditors here. Except last Tuesday he met no one and ordered sandwiches for 2. "You have the camera," Maya said. Luca's mouth tightened. "We had the camera." He held up a small thumb drive in a plastic evidence bag. "Someone swapped it at 7:40 a.m. and returned it at 9:15. Nothing on it but a screensaver and an old Sinatra song." "Which one?" Maya asked absurdly. "All the Way," he said, and something like pain crossed his face and left. Her phone buzzed. "Adrian." The text preview showed only the first sentence. "Lunch sounds charming. Bring your new—" She didn't open it. She could feel the heat of it through glass. "Vance wants me to bait him," she said. "I want to gut him," Luca replied evenly. "We will compromise." He pushed open the door to his private office. The room smelled faintly of cedar and rain from a coat hung to dry. Sun fell across the piano in the corner, black lacquer like a calm sea. Luca crossed to his desk, reached for a drawer, stopped. "What?" Maya asked. He didn't answer. He went to the piano, lifted the fallboard. For a beat, there was only the quiet thrum of the building's heart. Then he slid his hand under the soundboard and came up with a matchbox-sized device taped to the wood, black with a pinhole and a dead red LED. "A bug," he said, voice gone winter. Maya's skin prickled. "How long?" "Long enough," he said. He turned the device, saw the brand. Cheap, common, disposable. And the way the tape had been torn on a slant. He had taught Rafe to rip tape like that to keep his fingerprints off. He had watched Paolo cut tape straight as scripture. Something white fluttered from where the bug had sat. A folded square, thin as a receipt. Luca opened it with care. 2 block-printed words stared up, all teeth and cheer. "Nice window." He closed his hand around the paper so slowly it felt like an oath forming. The quiet in the room deepened until Maya could hear only the small song of her own breath and the faint, remembered shape of Elena's last sign that morning. "Fix." "Luca," Maya said, throat dry. "What do we do?" He set the bug down on the piano with the same care he used for his mother's teacups. When he spoke, it was the voice he saved for weather he intended to change. "We close the window," he said, "and then we find out who opened it." Her phone buzzed again. Adrian, patient as rust. Maya stared at the message she hadn't read yet and realized that whatever they said to the government tomorrow would be the second most dangerous conversation of the week. Because the first one had already started, here, in this quiet room, with a piano that had been listening. The office intercom crackled, Elena's voice, tight with something Maya had never heard there before. "Luca," she said. "Police just called me from Queens. Someone broke into your father's old shop. They left a ledger on the workbench, with your name on every page." Queens smelled of motor oil and ghosts. By the time Luca and Maya arrived, yellow tape fluttered in the October wind like surrender flags. The old sign, Moretti and Son Auto Repair, still clung above the awning, letters fading but stubborn. Inside, the air carried burnt dust and old steel. A uniformed officer looked up from his notepad. "Detective said you'd want to see this, Mr. Moretti." Luca nodded once. The man stepped aside, revealing a workbench scarred by decades of wrench marks. On top, a ledger, leather-bound, edges blackened as if someone had tried to burn it and lost their nerve. Every page neatly filled, dates, invoices, signatures, El Moretti written again and again in precise damning loops. Maya's breath hitched. They want the Bureau to think it's yours. They want me busy explaining smoke while they steal fire, Luca said. He flipped through pages, container IDs, wire amounts, all real numbers, but twisted. The handwriting was perfect. Too perfect. This isn't forged, Maya whispered. It's traced. He glanced up. Explain. Cole used scanned signatures, overlays. The ink weight matches across pages. That only happens if someone copied from a digital template. The officer cleared his throat. We logged it as evidence. You can't. I can look, Luca interrupted, calm as cold coffee. My father's name is on it. That makes it personal. Maya ran a finger along the margin, stopping at a faint smudge. Coffee ring, oval, partial. Not yours, she murmured. Rafe's desk always had. Luca's silence hardened. We go. Outside, sirens blurred into city hum. Maya caught his sleeve. If Rafe's dirty, Paolo's helping him. He wouldn't have the access alone. Paolo taught me to sign checks, Luca said. If he's teaching others now, I'll return the lesson. They drove to Paolo's townhouse in Astoria, a neat brick facade with curtains too still for morning. No answer to the first knock. The second. The third came from Luca's boot. The door swung inward on quiet hinges. Inside smelled of paper and lemon polish, and emptiness. No photos, no dishes, no sound but the ticking of a clock left behind. On the dining table, a single envelope rested beneath a small ceramic saint. Luca tore it open. You built the column. I just sold the marble. Don't follow. I left you one clean door. Use it before the walls come down. P. Maya read over his shoulder, heart pounding. He's warning you. He's warning himself, Luca said. People who think they can walk out forget the city has corners. He pocketed the note. His phone buzzed. Vance. Our friends at the Bureau moved up the meeting. 10 a.m. today. Bring the drive. And whatever bomb just landed in your lap. Make it noon, Luca said. They insisted. Then we'll be early. He hung up, turned to Maya. You still want to tell the truth? Yes. Then today we do it with their microphones on and ours louder. The Bureau's Manhattan field office rose from the street like a gray sermon. Inside, glass walls reflected too much honesty. Vance met them at the checkpoint, folders under one arm, sarcasm under the other. Agents Geller and Moore, he said, nodding toward two figures at the end of the corridor. One brisk, one bored. Try to remember they think they're the heroes. Conference room. Recorder light blinking red. Vance opened. This is a voluntary proffer. My client, Ms. Alvarez, will speak freely regarding financial misconduct linked to Adrian Cole, Russo Construction, and affiliated shells. Mr. Moretti attends as corroborating witness. Geller leaned forward. Corroborating or controlling? Vance smiled. Both start with C. Pick your favorite. Maya exhaled. A year ago I discovered 4 accounts. She told it clean. Timestamps, transfers, the florist, the theft that wasn't. Each word a stone laid straight. When she finished, Moore slid a photo across the table, the burnt ledger. Recognize this? Yes, she said. It's fake. Interesting. Our lab says genuine ink, genuine paper, genuine signature. Signatures copied, she replied. Overlay test the loops. You'll see repetition down to the pixel. Geller frowned. You seem confident. I built the audit protocol you'll use to prove it, she said. Page 12. Silence stretched. Then Moore tapped the folder. Who else knew you'd testify today? Adrian Cole, she said, and whoever listens to Luca's piano. Vance slid a small bag onto the table, the bug. Recovered this morning. You might check Bureau procurement. Cheap models, but your Miami office likes imports. That landed. Geller's jaw flexed. We'll verify. Do, Vance said. While you're at it, check Pier 14 permits. One vendor's been sending ledgers to ghosts. The recorder's light winked off. Meeting adjourned by unspoken mutual exhaustion. As they left, Geller murmured to Maya, "Watch your six. Informants get creative when cornered." She nodded. So do witnesses. Outside, rain began. Soft, early, forgiving. Luca opened his umbrella. She didn't step under, choosing the drizzle instead. "You did well," he said. "I told the truth." Same thing. They reached the curb where his car waited. Across the street, traffic parted, and Rafe stood beside a black sedan, phone to ear, eyes on them. When their gazes met, his face went blank. Then he turned, ducked into the car, and vanished into rain. Maya gripped Luca's arm. "He's running." "No," Luca said, voice low. "He's leading." "Where?" Luca watched the retreating taillights, mind already tracing routes and betrayals. To whoever paid for marble. The phone in his pocket vibrated again. "Unknown number. Text only. Pier 14. Tonight. Come alone." Below it, a photo. Paolo, bound, bruised, and still alive. The East River wore a coat of fog thick enough to swallow secrets. At midnight, the docks looked like ghosts lined up for confession. Containers looming, cranes frozen mid-gesture, water lapping against pylons like a heartbeat out of sync. Luca killed his headlights a block early. The note in his pocket crinkled as he breathed. Pier 14. Come alone. But alone was a luxury he couldn't afford. In the passenger seat, Maya pulled the hood of her rain jacket tighter. "If it's a trap, it is," he said simply. "The question's who it's meant for." She checked the Glock Vance had insisted she carry. Her hand still shook. "You sure about walking into this?" "No," Luca said, pushing open the door, "but I'm sure about walking out." They moved through puddles, slick with diesel sheen, the silence between them heavy with words unsaid. A gull shrieked overhead, then silence again, too clean, too deliberate. At the far end of the pier, a single floodlight carved a circle of truth. Inside it, Paolo sat tied to a chair, mouth gagged, one eye swollen shut. Standing behind him, Rafe, trenchcoat open, pistol low, face unreadable. "Stop there," Rafe called, voice echoing off corrugated steel. "No closer." Luca's jaw tightened. "Let him go." "Can't," Rafe said. "Orders." "Cole's." "Higher." Maya's breath caught. "Who's higher than Adrian Cole?" The answer came from the shadows, a smooth voice laced with expensive bourbon. "Me." Adrian Cole stepped into the light, rain glistening on his tailored coat. He looked every inch the gentleman assassin, silver cufflinks, shark eyes, smile built on leverage. "Mr. Moretti," he said pleasantly. "Ms. Alvarez, what a charming reunion." Luca's fingers twitched near his jacket. "You've got 5 seconds." "Before what? You redecorate the pier with bravado?" Cole tilted his head. "I invited you for conversation. Violence is optional." He nodded toward Paolo. "Your accountant overstepped. Sold ledgers to a bidder who pays better. I wanted to see if loyalty still has a market value." Paolo groaned through the gag. Rafe's gun didn't move. Maya stepped forward. "You set us up. The ledger, the bugs, the bureau. I curated the narrative," Cole interrupted. "You two were wandering toward inconvenient honesty. I needed witnesses who would testify exactly what I scripted." "You forged evidence under Luca's name," she said. "You tried to make him the villain." Cole smiled thinly. "Every empire needs a scapegoat." Luca's voice dropped to gravel. "Funny, I was thinking every empire needs a funeral." Rafe's aim wavered. "Boss." "Quiet," Cole snapped. But the hesitation was enough. Luca's eyes locked on Rafe's. "You didn't torch the shop." Rafe swallowed hard. "No." "Then why stand there?" "Because he has my sister," Rafe whispered. Cole sighed, annoyed. "I told you sentiment would kill you." Maya drew her gun. "Then let's test that theory." Cole's men spilled from the darkness, 4 shapes, silencers glinting. The circle of light shrank under their shadows. Luca lifted his hands slowly. "You want me alive, or this meeting never happened?" Cole smirked. "Alive, yes. Intact, negotiable. Then came the sound that changed everything. A distant wail of sirens. Closer, louder, overlapping. Cole's expression froze. "You called them." Luca nodded toward Maya. She told the truth. They listened. Cole's eyes went flat. "Kill them." Chaos detonated. Gunfire shredded fog. Maya dropped behind a crate, returning fire in sharp, disciplined bursts. Rafe spun, elbowed the nearest thug, grabbed his weapon mid-fall. Paolo kicked his chair backward, breaking the rope on impact. Luca lunged for Cole, but the old fox was already retreating toward a waiting SUV. "Adrian!" Luca roared, bullets sparking off steel. "You run tonight. You never stop." Cole slipped into the darkness, tires screaming as the SUV vanished up the service ramp. The sirens reached the pier. Bureau vans, uniforms flooding the scene. Rafe lowered his gun, breathing ragged. "My sister, address is in his phone. Go." Agents swarmed them, shouting commands. Vance was among them, coat flapping like a banner. "Hands where I can see them. Wait, Luca? Maya? Jesus, you two look like a crime scene." "Because we are," Luca said. He turned toward the empty ramp. "But not the one that matters." Maya reached for his arm. "We have proof now." Cole's voice, the setup. "Proof means nothing if he vanishes," Luca said. "He's heading for the docks or the jet. He won't hide. He'll rebuild." Vance stepped closer. "Then we burn what he builds." Luca stared into the night where Cole had disappeared. "He tried to write my ending," he said quietly. "Tomorrow I write his." As dawn bled across the skyline, Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "He won't run. He's going home." Attached, a photo of a mansion on the cliffs of Montauk, and Cole's silver cufflinks on the railing. Montauk waited beneath a bruised sky. The sea hurled itself against the rocks like a warning no one ever heeded. Cole's mansion rose above the cliff, glass and stone, all sharp edges and arrogance. A house built to defy storms and invite ghosts. Luca parked half a mile down the service road. The ocean wind cut through his coat, salt biting his throat. Maya followed close, flashlight off, pistol steady, her hair whipping like a banner of defiance. "He sent the photo himself," she whispered. "Why?" "To prove he still controls the board," Luca said. "He wants me to come." "Then he's ready for you." He glanced at her. "Everyone's ready until the tide turns." They moved along the cliff path, boots silent on wet stone. Below, the surf crashed like distant artillery. In the distance, faint lights blinked, not stars, but patrol drones tracing invisible perimeters. At the gate, a keypad blinked green. Luca studied it, fingers brushing worn metal. Rafe said Cole used the same codes for every property. Try 1001. Maya keyed it in. The gate side open. They slipped through shadow to the rear terrace, glass walls revealing a museum of wealth. Marble floors, oil paintings, a piano gleaming like a confession. Luca froze mid-step. On the piano sat a single wine glass, half full, still warm. "He's here," Maya breathed. A voice drifted from the darkness. "Of course I am." Adrian Cole stepped from the study, holding a decanter like a priest offering communion. No guards this time, no weapons visible, just a man wearing calm like armor. "I wasn't running," he said. "I was waiting." Luca's hand hovered near his holster. "For what? Absolution?" "For you to decide who you are," Cole said. "A man chasing justice, or another Moretti chasing blood." Maya stepped forward. "You forged ledgers. You blackmailed witnesses. You destroyed families." "I built empires," Cole corrected. "And you, both of you, helped me, whether you admit it or not." He walked to the window, waves roaring beneath. "I recruited Rafe to your family. I paid Paolo to keep the books clean. I made the bureau look the other way. Without me, the Morettis would still be fixing carburetors. You made corpses, not careers," Luca said. Cole turned, eyes cold. "Spare me the sermon. You think your father stayed clean? He took my money too. You just never looked close enough." The words hit like shrapnel. Maya saw Luca's knuckles whiten. "He's lying." "Am I?" Cole asked softly. Ask Vance why your father's name is on sealed transport manifests. Ask the Bureau who moved contraband through Queens for 20 years. Everyone sins, Luca. I just charge interest. Luca took a step closer. You don't get to rewrite my father. Then prove me wrong, Cole said. Take the files in my safe. Turn me in. But remember, if you open those pages, you'll see your bloodline written in ink you can't wash off. For a moment, silence. The sea. The rain. Then Maya spoke. You're bluffing. He doesn't need your poison. Cole's gaze softened, almost pitying. He needs the truth, Ms. Alvarez. You both do. He turned his back, deliberate, dismissive, and poured another drink. Luca drew his gun. Stop. Cole froze, but didn't turn. Go on, kill me. It's what he would have done. Who? Cole smiled faintly. Your father. The word cracked the air. Maya's voice broke through. Luca, don't. That's what he wants. Luca's breath came slow, controlled. The muzzle trembled, not from fear, but from memory. His father's hands, the shop, the ledger. Cole glanced over his shoulder. You think justice comes from restraint? Justice is a myth told by men too weak to finish the job. The gun lowered. No, Luca said quietly. Justice is surviving long enough to tell the story. He nodded toward Maya. She stepped to the sideboard, pressing a tiny recorder Vance had given her. Light red, blinking. Cole's smirk faltered. Luca's voice turned steel. You admitted to forgery, manipulation, federal interference, and accessory to murder. Cole straightened slowly, realizing too late the walls had ears. You think a tape stops me? No, Luca said. But the Bureau outside might. Cole blinked, then laughed, short and sharp. They're not. Floodlights flared through the rain. Tires screeched on wet gravel. Shouts carried over wind. Cole's mask slipped. You called them? I told the truth, Maya said. Footsteps thundered at the door. Cole lunged for the decanter, but Luca moved faster, slamming him back against the piano. Glass shattered. Wine bled across ivory keys like spilled confession. Agents burst in, weapons drawn. Adrian Cole, you're under arrest for fraud, racketeering, obstruction. Cole looked up, a ghost caught mid-prayer. You'll regret this, Moretti. You think you're free now? You're just taking my place? Luca met his gaze. No. I'm breaking your circle. They dragged Cole out, rain swallowing his curses. For a moment, only the storm remained. The sea, the wind, the sound of waves erasing footprints. Maya touched Luca's arm. You did it. He looked past her, toward the horizon where night bled into gray. Not yet. He wasn't lying about my father. The Bureau sealed those files for a reason. So we find out, she said. Together. He nodded slowly. Together. Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating the cliffs. And in the distance, a lone figure watched from a parked car, face hidden, eyes fixed on the house. The next flash of lightning revealed what they couldn't see. Vance, gripping a dossier marked Moretti, Salvatore, classified. And in the corner, a signature, not Cole's, Luca's father's. Dawn crept across Manhattan like a promise kept too late. Luca stood at the window of his penthouse, city lights fading into gray morning. Below, sirens murmured in the distance, blending with the hum of traffic, the song of a city that forgot yesterday faster than it forgave it. On the counter behind him lay a sealed dossier, edges damp from rain. Moretti, Salvatore, classified, stamped with bureau markings, signed in a hand he knew as well as his own. Maya stepped from the hallway, hair damp, eyes soft, but alert. You've been staring at it for an hour. I thought the truth would feel lighter, Luca said. Turns out it just weighs different. She crossed to him. You don't have to open it alone. He hesitated, then broke the seal. The paper crackled like old gilt. Inside, typed reports, surveillance photos, ledgers, and one line circled in red, Salvatore Moretti, confidential asset, 1989-2001. Maya's eyes widened. He was an informant? Luca's jaw tightened. A broker, between the Bureau and the syndicates. He built peace one deal at a time, thought he was keeping the family safe. She traced the signature. He risked everything. He sold everything, Luca said quietly, including the truth. Another page, names, transactions, files sealed under immunity. At the bottom, handwritten notes. If they come for my son, give him this. Let him choose the bridge or the fire. Maya looked up. He left this for you. Or for the man he hoped I'd become. Silence stretched, filled with the sound of their breathing, the faint echo of rain against glass. Finally, Luca exhaled. He made deals with devils, but he believed he was saving us. Maybe that's the curse. Thinking you can build a bridge out of blood. Maya laid a hand on his chest. Then build something else. He looked at her. At the woman who'd walked through every shadow beside him. Who'd taught him that mercy wasn't weakness. That truth didn't have to be loud to be real. What if the Bureau uses this? He asked. Turns his sins into my shackles? Then we write our own record, she said. Tell them everything, before they can twist it. The idea settled like sunrise, slow, inevitable, warm. Luca nodded. No more ghosts. By noon, they sat across from Geller and Moore in the same glass room where the storm had started. Vance stood behind them, arms crossed, face unreadable. Luca placed the dossier on the table. You want the truth? Here it is. My father built peace by making enemies believe they were winning. He sold favors to both sides, but he never sold people. Geller studied him. You're not your father. No, Luca said, but I'll carry what he couldn't. Maya slid a USB drive across the table. Everything Cole forged, everything we found, signed statements, audio. You'll have enough to bury his empire 10 feet deeper than he buried the truth. Moore nodded slowly. You realize this puts you on record. If we open these files, your family's name goes public. I'm counting on it, Luca said. You can't erase a shadow unless you shine the light. Geller glanced at Vance. You sure about this? Vance shrugged. He's a Moretti. They don't do half measures. The agent signed the form. The red light blinked on. This time, Luca didn't flinch. When it was over, they walked out into sunlight. The sky had cleared. Blue stretched wide like forgiveness. Maya squeezed his hand. What now? Luca looked toward the city. Bridges spanning the river, cars moving like veins. Now we build. Something honest. Something worth the blood it took to get here. She smiled. Together. Always. Weeks later, the headlines told the story. Cole sentenced. Corporate tyrant falls as testimony exposes national network. Moretti family cleared. Father revealed as peace broker. Son as key witness. Martinez Alvarez Initiative. New foundation funds rehabilitation and reform. At the dedication ceremony, cameras flashed. Maya stood beside him, wind catching her hair, her hand anchored in his. Behind them, a new sign gleamed in bronze, the Moretti Bridge Center for Redemption. Luca stepped to the mic, voice steady. My father believed in building bridges. I believe in walking them, even when they shake. This city taught me that truth and mercy can live in the same heart. So can love and strength. We're proof. Applause rose, echoing against glass towers. Maya leaned in. You did it. No, he said softly. We did. As the crowd dispersed, she turned to him. Where to now? Home, he said. Wherever we can see the water. I want to build something that lasts longer than fear. She smiled, eyes bright. You already have. He slipped his arm around her waist, leading her toward the waiting car. The city stretched ahead, alive, forgiving. The bridge glittered behind them. Steel, sunlight, second chances. And for the first time in years, Luca Moretti felt light. Not because the past was gone, but because he'd finally learned to carry it right. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.